I'm Venu Keller. Welcome to Venu Inspires. It's time to give your children a childhood they won't have to heal from. Hello, and welcome to Wednesday Wisdom. Today I wanted to discuss how do we give our kids their worth. Most of us have received our self-worth from external resources. And if we continue to think that our worth is based on what we do outside of ourselves, the rewards we get from, doing good on a test, or the compliments we get when we clean up our room, and that's the only way that we know how to fill our self-worth up. What happens when the external resources are not there? How do we help our kids know that their worth comes within themselves, not because of what they do, not because of how much value they add to, their sports team or their debate team or whatever team they're on? How do we help our kids to realize their worth is within them, that they are important, that they belong in this world, that they just being here, being in the room, being in the conversation, they add value to someone's life, to your life. I was having an amazing conversation with a friend of mine this morning, and we were talking about the differences of, how we're raising our kids with punishment versus rewards. And she says, but what if we just took away all of that? It wasn't about punishing them. It wasn't about rewarding them. It was about them feeling great that they accomplished something for the fact that they accomplished it, that it was something that they felt within them. And it really sparked this conversation that I wanted to have with you today, because that is so true. One of the, dilemmas or challenges that I see that my clients face day to day is that feeling of loneliness, like they don't belong. The minute your child feels like they don't belong, whether it's in your family or in their peer group or at school or on a team, is the minute that you recognize that they don't know their worth, that they don't have that internal feeling, knowledge of knowing that they matter in this world. So how do we do that? How do we now go from, I'm not sure if my kids have worth, to, I just want to make sure that their worth isn't dependent on some external factor, that it's actually within themselves. So one of the things that you can start doing today is when your child does something, whether it is, they win the race, if they're like doing track or something, besides just applying them and celebrating them, what if you started to ask them questions? What did that feel like? What did that feel like within yourself? Where did you feel that feeling? I want you to hold on to that feeling of, feeling like a champion, feeling like you were successful, feeling like you accomplished something, and hold that within yourself. And that's the feeling of knowing that you belong, that you were worth it, that you added value. Where else can this show up in their life? When they clean their room or they complete their chores, it's that feeling of accomplishment, not because you're going to reward them with an allowance or reward them with praise. It's because something within them feels like they finally have, like they feel that accomplishment within them, that they have that worth, that worthiness of being a part of the family and doing the chores. And it feels good to them because it's internalized. Most of the problems that our kids face is all external. Like, look at our kids that are comparing themselves to pictures on Instagram, which a lot of them are all filtered. And they have this illusion that whatever's out here is going to make or break who they are inside of them, that worth that they feel. What if what's on the outside was actually developed through the worth that they feel within themselves? Because we're raising them at such a young age to know that there's a sense of pride, a sense of belonging, a sense of knowing your importance within yourself. Another opportunity that I would suggest, if you really feel like your child doesn't really have that self-worth or self-esteem, ask them to do this one quick exercise. And I invite you to do it as well, because I'm going to tell you, it's not just kids that suffer from this, right? Write down, imagine someone that you look up to, that you have the utmost respect for, that, it could be your best friend, it can be a relative, it can be, a rock star, a superhero. And write down all the characteristics that make you feel that they're worth being in your life, that they're worth looking at and saying, I want some of that. And just make a list of all the things that you love about them, that you adore about them, that you think that make them worthy of people liking them. And then do the same thing for you. Take yourself outside of yourself and look at you and make a list of all the things that you admire about yourself that make you worthy of people liking. Are you humorous? Are you empathetic? Are you full of presence when you talk to someone? Do you hear them? Do you listen? Do you laugh? Do you protect? Do you make people feel safe? And when we start to make these lists about ourselves, we really start to see the internal feeling of knowing that we are worth it, that we have that worth. And remember, as parents, we're modeling for our kids in the first place. So if we know our worth and we're able to help our children feel this, and they see what worth looks like from the conversations we have, from how we feel about ourselves, how we show up, how are they going to replicate that? How are they going to show up? How are they going to start to feel about themselves? And they'll start to really feel like they get to add even more value to the world because they're adding value to themselves first. So those are my tips for Wednesday Wisdom. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.